When I saw my daughter kicked out on her birthday, my heart shattered as I uncovered the truth. I will never forget that moment. The bright balloons danced in the wind, their laughter fading into a haunting silence. I stood frozen, my chest tightening, watching as she staggered backward, eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and betrayal. Her hands trembled, gripping the birthday cake, the centerpiece of our cheerful celebration, now smeared and forgotten on the ground, everything around us blurred. The festive lights twinkled mockingly, casting eerie shadows on faces twisted in shock. Friends whispered, their voices a low hum of confusion, glancing at each other with raised eyebrows. I could almost taste the tension in the air, a thick, suffocating fog of uncertainty. What had led to this moment? Behind our smiling facade lay 1,000 unspoken words. I had poured my heart into raising her, each sacrifice etched into my soul. I could still remember the nights I stayed awake, heart racing, worrying about her future. But this moment felt like a cruel twist of fate. I remembered her laughter, bright like summer sunlight, now overshadowed by this darkness. The crowd shifted, parting like waves, and all I could do was blink through the blurry tears. The world around me faded into a dull roar as I searched her face for answers, for a glimmer of hope. Instead, I saw panic. I felt rage boil over, mixed with an overwhelming sense of helplessness. Who could do this? Who would want to take away her special day? Suddenly, the door behind her creaked open, an ominous figure stepping into the harsh light. The adults gasped, eyes wide. There was something about him. A darkness cloaked his presence. My heart raced. I could feel the air thicken with secrets, unknown prior sacrifices, and weighty decisions made behind closed doors. "She's done," he barked, voice dripping with poison, slicing through the air like a cold blade. My daughter's eyes widened, fear etched on her delicate features. My breath caught in my throat. The truth hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. What had she done? Why now? Why here? With every passing second, my mind spiraled deeper into confusion. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, yet my voice quivered like a candle flickering in the wind, barely able to breathe out the words. The world spun around me, shadows looming larger as I grasped my daughter's quivering hand. "Mom, please," she whispered, the tremor in her voice echoing my own chaos. I drew her closer, fighting the tidal wave of helplessness crashing down on me. But what would I discover beneath this twisted truth? As I held her there, a feeling of dread unfurled within me. What if this moment was just the beginning? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I cradled my daughter's fragile frame against me, feeling the warmth of her body juxtaposed against the frigid horror of the moment. She was trembling, and I could feel my own body shaking in response to her fear. I forged a path through the crowd, leading her toward the dimly lit corner of the yard where the balloons hung lifelessly. I needed to shield her from the chaos, the gasps, the whispers. "Tell me what happened," I urged, my voice barely above a whisper. My heart was racing, each beat resonating with the terror of not knowing. She lifted her tear-streaked face to meet my gaze, eyes wide and glassy, reflecting a mixture of confusion and pain. "Mom, I didn't mean to. I never meant to. Whatever it is, well, figure it out," I urged, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. But deep down, anxiety gnawed at my insides. What could elicit such a reaction? My daughter, usually so vibrant and full of life, was a shadow of herself. From a distance, I could see the ominous figure still lurking near the door, his eyes sharp and unyielding. My blood boiled as anger threatened to boil over. How dare he? It felt like a violation of my sacred space, the innocence of her birthday stripped bare. In that moment, I decided to confront him. I stepped away, positioning myself as a barrier between my daughter and that presence. "What right do you have to treat her like this?" I asked, my voice steady despite the tumultuous emotions swirling inside me. He shrugged, a shallow gesture that disturbed me more than any words could. "Right? I have every right. You don't even know what she's done. What do you mean?" I snapped back, but his gaze was impenetrable, calculating. It infuriated me, and I could feel my chest tightening in a mix of dread and indignation. Right then, a little girl from the birthday party, with wild curls and a bright dress, stepped out from the throng of chattering adults. She reached for my daughter's hand, her eyes wide with concern. Without words, she offered solidarity, her innocent gesture glowing against the dark backdrop of chaos. My daughter looked down at the tiny hand clasping her own, and for an instant, the flicker of hope ignited between them. "Come on, let's go inside and away from him," the little girl said firmly, pulling my daughter along gently, just as I had moments before. I could see my daughter's expression shift, as if she was inspired by this unexpected kindness. As they moved away, I stayed rooted in place, still locked in a silent war with the looming figure. His presence was unsettling, a reminder that something so deeply buried was bubbling to the surface. "Don't think this is over," he spat, eyes narrowing. "If you're done ruining my daughter's birthday, then leave us alone," I shot back, surprised at my own bravery. But still, anxiety twisted in the pit of my stomach, a harbinger of discontent. Once he finally withdrew, I felt the chaotic energy of the crowd ebbing slowly, gray shadows replacing vibrant colors. People began to disperse, some glancing back with pity, others with judgment. I turned, only to find my daughter comforting the little girl, their laughter now a haunting reminder of what had been lost. I squeezed my eyes shut, wishing to block out the sight. Somewhere deep inside, I knew I needed to dig deeper. My daughter was not the only one facing the consequences of whatever had precipitated this public shame. That evening, after the party in disarray, I laid awake, struggling against sleep's embrace. I plucked at the threads of what I thought I knew, my mind racing over possibilities, hidden truths, things I needed to uncover. The creak of the wooden floorboard signaled her presence. I opened my eyes to see her silhouette in the doorway, uncertainty radiating from her small figure. "Mom, can we talk?" Her voice was small, yet carried the weight of the universe. I nodded, inviting her to come closer, my heart aching for her. She slipped under the covers beside me, and I wrapped my arm around her, hoping it would ease her fears. "Whatever it is, we will face it together," I reassured her, biting back my own fears. But as she took a shaky breath, I felt the air grow thicker. I'm scared," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know what to say. I don't know how to fix this." And in that moment, a crashing realization struck me. The truth we were both encroaching upon, whether I was ready for it or not, was lurking just beyond those shadows, like the promise of a storm about to break. Before I could respond, she asked the question that hung in the air, heavy and loaded. "Mom, what will happen if Dad finds out?" My heart sank, the ground beneath me feeling fragile. Had she revealed something I hadn't considered? The look in her eyes, desperate and sincere, was both a plea and a confession. I turned to face her, my stomach a coil of uncertainty, and for the first time since that fateful moment at the party, realized we were not just facing an isolated incident. We were on the brink of uncovering a truth that could alter the course of our lives forever. The night stretched on, an unbearable silence wrapping around us like a weighted blanket. Each tick of the clock echoed through the darkness, amplifying the nervous energy that buzzed between us. I turned to face her fully, wanting to hold both her gaze and her fragile heart in my hands. "What do you mean, sweetheart? What do you think your dad will do?" I asked gently, searching her innocent face for clarity. But her expression was clouded with fear and uncertainty, a reflection of the storm raging within me. In all honesty, I didn't know how he would react. With his temper, anything was a possibility. Hell be mad, she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. He doesn't understand me like you do. Whatever happened, it's not worth being scared of your dad, I challenged softly, though deep down, a sinking feeling clawed at my insides. The thought of how my husband might respond to any revelation terrified me. We had always believed we were a united front, but now that foundation felt like it was crumbling, revealing cracks I had pretended did not exist. The tears began to fill her eyes again, and I instinctively tightened my hold around her. Well, find a way to talk to him together. But first, I need you to tell me what happened today, okay? No matter what, just be honest with me. She inhaled shakily, weighing her words. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I thought it would make me happy. I wanted to fit in. What did you think would make you happy? Please, honey, just tell me. Some kid said being popular meant doing something crazy, something to get everyone to notice you. So I let them talk me into it. And then it just went wrong, Mom. I never wanted to be kicked out. Each word poured out of her like a trembling brook, and my heart ached with each revelation. I held her closer, feeling her heartbeat synchronize with the rapid cadence of my own. I was afraid, not only for her but also for the turmoil this would unleash. That I am so sorry, she sobbed. I wanted to make friends, but I lost everything instead. I turned my head, resting it against hers, closing my eyes against the encroaching dark thoughts that spiraled within me. You're not a failure, my love. This is just a rough moment, we can turn this around. You are so much more than this incident, I whispered, my voice breaking as I fought the urge to cry myself. We sat like that for what seemed like hours, holding tightly to each other as the shadows of uncertainty danced around us. It was all I could do to shield her from the fears that clawed at me. I tried to maintain the facade of strength, but unease coursed through me like a rolling fog. Suddenly, her phone buzzed on the nightstand, breaking the fragile silence. I glanced over nervously, recognizing the name that illuminated the screen, Katie. Mom, it's Katie, she said, her voice laced with apprehension. I don't know if I should answer. Why not? I asked gently, sensing the conflict in her heart. What if she wants to talk about what happened? What if she blames me? I hesitated, knowing that Katie could be the link that revealed more than my daughter was prepared for. But perhaps it was a chance for healing, however terrifying it may be. You could just tell her that you're not ready to talk, or you could face it together. Either way, you have the power to decide. Her brow furrowed as she picked up the phone hesitantly. What if she knows something? Then maybe it's time to find out, I replied, my voice unwavering as a wave of resolve surged within me. With a shaky exhale, she swiped the screen and pressed the phone to her ear. Hi, Katie. Yeah, about earlier. I held my breath, listening closely. There was a silence on the line, and I could see her anxiously rubbing her thumb against the soft fabric of the blanket, the weight of the moment pulling her deeper into vulnerability. That I could hear fragments, Katie's voice rising in pitch, and in that moment, I felt the air around us shift. A thread of anxiety wove through me. I leaned closer, intent on catching every intonation. Wait, really? My daughter inhaled sharply, her eyes widening. But I thought we were friends. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. The conversation wove deeper, ebbing and flowing like a tide that had the power to steer the course of both their lives. I could see a myriad of emotions flit across her face: shock, realization, and the stark dawning of betrayal. The gravity of the conversation shifted, and suddenly, her expression twisted into confusion. What do you mean they all knew before I did? My pulse quickened, an alarming sense of urgency flooding my veins. What's happening? I whispered to myself, the truth hanging in the air like fog, thick and inescapable. Suddenly, her eyes, filled with confusion, met mine. Mom, Katie just said there's a video. The ground beneath me shifted again. A video? I echoed, dread pooling in my chest. What video, sweetheart? Her voice trembled as she spoke, fear crackling in the air. She said it's online, everyone has seen it. Everyone except me. A cold wave washed over me, chilling every part of my being. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to align in the most unnatural way, and the trajectory of our lives felt as if it was about to change forever. I drew in a breath, swallowing hard against the thick swell of emotions. The truth was closer than it had ever been, yet hurled toward us at a dizzying speed. As my daughter's eyes shimmered with tears, I recognized the urgency in her voice. What if someone finds out before we can explain? Before I could respond, a loud knock rattled the front door, crashing through the fragile layers of our precarious moment. I jumped, my heart racing, looking toward the sound with a sense that whatever awaited us on the other side was a revelation we both feared but could no longer avoid. The knock echoed through the house again, a hollow thud that reverberated in my ears like an uninvited guest at a time when we were utterly unprepared. For a brief, paralyzing second, I felt as if the very walls were closing in, suffocating the raw emotions that had been laid bare just moments before. I held my breath and turned back to my daughter, whose hand tightened around the edge of her bedspread, her eyes darting nervously from the door to me. Who could that be? She whispered, her voice wavering. I'm not sure, I replied, wishing I could cradle her entire world until these restless shadows retreated. Stay here. I'll go check. Tension coiled in the pit of my stomach as I stepped toward the door, each step heavy with the weight of uncertainty. Each knock felt like a countdown to an explosion, a revelation that I dreaded but knew was inevitable. My heart drummed in my chest, quickening as I peered through the peephole, my breath catching as I realized who stood on the other side. It was Tom. I hesitated only for a moment, torn between a desire to shield my daughter from her father's wrath and the need to confront the looming threat that had knocked at our door. He had never been the kind to stand idly by when it came to his children, and tonight, he wore the look that spoke volumes, confusion twisted into anger. Taking a breath to gather my composure, I opened the door, revealing him in the dim glow of the hallway light. His brow furrowed with concern, emotion etched across his face. "Where's Emily?" he asked sharply, his voice too tight with barely contained tension. For a flicker of a moment, I thought about deflecting, of shrouding our daughter in the protective cocoon we had tried to create. But before I could choose my words carefully, my resolve broke. "Tom, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the whirlwind around us. "Talk? About what?" I saw her name all over the screens at school. She's been kicked out, and no one seems to understand why. I'm here because I was told I needed to handle this. His voice escalated, frustration coiling tightly around his words. "What happened? Why didn't anyone tell me?" "We were just about to discuss it together," I said, trying to maintain an even tone. Just come inside." As I stepped back to let him in, I felt the air shift in the room like a sudden gust of wind, swirling with tension and unspoken fears. I led him toward our daughter's bedroom, where she still sat on the bed, lost in a sea of her own emotions. Her gaze locked onto Tom's as he entered, and I could feel the gravity of the moment settling between them like a heavy storm cloud. "Emily," he started, his voice softer now, a painful attempt to find the father he thought he was supposed to be. "What happened today? What did I miss?" For a heartbeat, I watched my daughter shrink under the weight of his words. The vulnerability in her eyes made my heart ache as she turned to me with unspoken questions. It was a fragile moment, one that had the potential to either deepen the rift or bridge the chasm that had formed within our family. "Dad," she began, hesitating as her fingers twisted anxiously in the thick fabric of her blanket. "I made a mistake." I thought before she could finish, propelled by a tidal wave of emotions, Tom interjected, "A mistake? You think that's all it was? I don't understand how you could let this happen. You're better than this, Emily." His words were like shards of glass, painfully sharp and unyielding. I could see the sharp intake of her breath, the way her small frame trembled at his reprimand. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," she managed, her voice almost lost in the chasm that had opened between them. "I just wanted to fit in." Silence unfurled in the air, thick and impenetrable. I felt an urge to intervene, to shield her from the barbs of his disappointment, but I knew this wasn't a moment to intervene, or maybe I was too afraid of what would come next. Fitting in is no excuse for harming yourself or others, Tom shot back, his voice rising again. Anger danced in his eyes, and I felt my pulse race with a blend of fear and helplessness. Tom, wait. I pleaded, desperate to diffuse the spiraling tension. There's more to this than you know. Please, just let her explain. Emily's gaze flickered between us, the conflict between her parents evident in her eyes. It was painfully clear she needed us to come together, not pull away. Katie said there's a video and everyone has seen it except me, she whispered, voice trembling. A video? Tom echoed, confusion etched across his face. What video? Tears pooled in Emily's eyes as she struggled to hold on to her composure. I thought it was harmless, but it went too far. Now it's online, and I'm scared, Dad. His expression faded from anger to something resembling concern, but it was too late to reverse the hurt. I stood there, the raw ache of possibility coursing through me, the fragile threads of comfort I'd hoped to weave unraveling before my eyes. Where is it? I'll make sure whoever did this pays, he said, voice stealing with authority. No. Emily's voice broke, desperation coloring her words. You wouldn't understand. Making it worse won't help, I don't even know what to do. As she began to cry openly, I felt the tears prick at the corners of my own eyes, knowing we were caught in a storm that no amount of love could shield us from. My heart, once a place of refuge, was now battling its own turmoil of fierce love warring with the burdens of reality. Emily, please, I murmured, stepping forward to cover her trembling hands with my own. We're going to figure this out together. I promise. But as I glanced back at Tom, I knew his storm was far from over. The darkness loomed heavy, and it was clear that this night would not close without more revelations. Then, from the depths of the silence that enveloped us, Tom's phone buzzed sharply in his pocket. The urgent tone sliced through the confusion hanging in the air, and he glanced down, frowning at the screen. It's the school, he said, a dawning realization dawning in his eyes. I saw it all, a rush of potential consequences swelling before us like the tide, yet fraught with uncertainty. What do they want? I asked, my heart racing anew. He looked up slowly, his expression changing, dread settling into the depths of his gaze. They want to talk about the video. They think it involves a large group, not just Emily, he said, a grim reality revealing its teeth. In that moment, I felt all of us teetering on a precipice, the world we had thought we knew threatened to cascade at our feet. And as Tom's phone continued to vibrate steadily, I realized this was only the beginning, a new storm brewing, and we were stranded in its eye, with nowhere to turn. I could barely register the weight of Tom's words as an icy grip seized my heart. Thoughts raced through my mind, but they felt like fragments of a shattered mirror. Each possibility was jagged, pointing in various directions, reflecting the chaos we were caught in. The silhouette of our once cohesive family was starting to shatter, mirroring the broken pieces of Emily's spirit. Tom's gaze was locked on his phone, and his knuckles were white against its sleek surface, waiting for answers that wouldn't come easily. Emily's earlier confession hung between us like a ghost, casting shadows over the fragile space we occupied. Large group? What does that mean? I asked, my voice quaking as I leaned in closer to him. The air felt suffocating, swirling with layers of dread and uncertainty. Tom swallowed hard, his face shifting as though he were grappling with the implications. It means this isn't just about Emily anymore. They think it's bigger, like something planned, he said, as the subtle hints of disbelief crept into his tone, puncturing the already tense atmosphere. But who would do such a thing? I murmured, anger and sorrow warring within me. I shot a quick look at Emily, whose eyes had gone wide with fear and confusion, as if she were suddenly grasping the weight of the implications. The revelation felt monumental, an avalanche ready to crash down on us. That I don't know. But people love drama, they feed off it, Tom replied bitterly, unable to disguise the anger that simmered beneath his surface. The tension between us intensified, a taut string about to snap. I could see Emily pulling away into herself, her body shrinking back like a flower wilting under a harsh sun, and all I wanted was to protect her from this pain. "Emily, look at me," I pleaded, reaching for her hand. She finally met my gaze, her eyes brimming with unshed tears, and for a moment, I sensed a flicker of hope. The bond we shared still had the power to hold us together, at least for now. "You have to know that whatever is happening, you are not alone in this. We'll figure it out together, okay?" A fresh wave of tears glistened in her eyes as she nodded slowly, the tension releasing just a tiny fraction. But it was evident that my words, although comforting, could only do so much. The storm outside her mind raged on, dragging her deeper into despair. Before I could gather my thoughts to comfort her more, Tom let out a frustrated sigh and glanced back at his phone. "I need to take this," he said, backing away from us reluctantly. As he stepped toward the living room, I couldn't help but sense the growing chasm once again opening between us. "Where are you going?" I called after him, a pit of worry forming in my stomach. "To talk to the school," he shouted back, the anxiety in his voice painting a vivid picture of a father desperate to reclaim his role, his purpose amid the chaos. As the door clicked closed behind him, I turned back to Emily, our small haven now feeling impossibly empty. "Emmy, please just," but even my words faltered when her expression shifted to a mask of fear, as if she were wobbling on the edge of a cliff. "Mom, what if they think I'm the instigator? I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I just wanted. Her voice broke, and panic bubbled in her eyes. "I know. You just wanted to belong," I whispered, kneeling to her level, where my presence could be a steady hand. "But this isn't your fault. You have to remember that." Suddenly, Emily's phone began to rattle on her bedside table, cutting through our fragile moment. Hesitating, she reached for it, her trembling fingers brushing over the screen as her breath hitched in her throat. The brightly lit display revealed a notification that sent an uneasy chill through me. "A message from a classmate. What does it say?" I asked gently, feeling as if we were standing on a tightrope, unsure of which way it would sway. "It's asking about the video and what I plan to do next," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "It's going to spread, isn't it?" I could feel my heart racing, each beat louder than the last. "No matter what, we are going to face this together, remember? You are not alone in this," I repeated, though the words felt almost hollow against the gravity of the situation. Just then, a loud crash came from the living room, reverberating through the hall like a thunderclap. Startled, I shot up, instinct taking over. "Tom!" I shouted, feeling trepidation coil within me. "Mom!" Emily cried, terror painted across her face, and I couldn't understand the wave of fear in her voice that I dashed toward the living room, my heart thumping against my ribs. As I reached the doorway, I froze. Tom was on the ground, his phone clattering away from him. His expression was one of sheer shock, his gaze glued to the screen. From my angle, I couldn't see what had taken him down so suddenly. "What happened?" I gasped, rushing to his side. "Just look." He choked out, his voice trembling. I hesitated for a heartbeat before reaching down to pick up the phone, my hands shaking as I turned it toward me. The screen lit up with a barrage of messages, but one caught my attention immediately. The last message, from a number I didn't recognize. "Listen to the video ASAP. You'll see what Emily really did." A cold wave crashed through my thoughts, and the world blurred for a moment, drowning in horror. My heart raced as I caught Tom's bewildered gaze, the now familiar tendrils of fear encroaching on our fractured family. "Emmy," I whispered, turning back to her, panic swirling as the implications settled in. For the first time, I felt a shattering certainty in the air, a truth that had eluded us all until this moment. What if there's more to this than we ever imagined? The sky was darkening outside, shadows curling around the windows, wrapping us tighter in an embrace of dread. We were about to embark on a journey no one desired, and I was terrified of where it might lead us. This was not just a mistake, not merely a video, this was the moment our lives spun off course, and we were racing toward an uncertain reckoning. In the fragile silence that hung after my confession, the air felt thick with apprehension. It echoed the chaos inside me as I stared into Emily's wide eyes, a torrent of emotions swirling just beneath the surface. The dark shadows draped around our lives felt oppressive, weighing heavily on my chest. What does it mean?" Emily asked, her voice trembling, the innocence still shining through her gaze like a fading light. I don't know yet, honey. We need to see the video," I managed to say, my heart hollow as I tried to maintain a brave facade for her sake. I felt Tom beside me, his presence a mix of anguish and uncertainty, as we both came face to face with the cruel reality that lay ahead. "I can't watch it," Emily whispered, her hands trembling as she pressed them against her chest, as if to protect her heart from whatever monster the video had unleashed. "What if it's worse than we think? We need to face this together," I said, but my own certainty wavered at the thought of what lay ahead. I reached for her, squeezing her hand. The simple gesture meant to convey all the love I felt and the desperate hope that, together, we could withstand this storm. "I'll excuse myself," Tom said, his voice strained as he stepped back, clearly struggling. Despite my own turmoil, I couldn't help but notice the weight of his sacrifice. He was trying to shield us, but the cracks in his resolve were evident. "Tom, don't go," I started, but he was already retreating, the tension palpable as he muttered something about needing air. I squeezed Emily's hand tighter, feeling the anxiety radiating off her like heat. "Mom, what if people think I'm bad? What if they see me differently?" Her voice quivered, reflecting all the fears that danced in her mind, and my heart ached for her innocence still hugging her tightly. "They can't know you, Emmy, not really. You have the kindest heart," I reassured her, my own uncertainty making it hard to sound convincing. "This doesn't define you." We sat in that moment, bundled together on the floor, our silence louder than any words we could muster. The shadows of our fears circled around us, demanding attention, but even as despair threatened to drown us, I could feel a soft warmth begin to emerge. It started with a knock on the door. Who could that be? Emily's eyes darted towards the sound, surprise breaking through her fear. "I'll check," I replied, sliding off the floor and cautiously making my way toward the door. I didn't want to expose Emily to more uncertainty, but there was a flicker of hope that maybe it would be someone bearing good news. As I opened the door, I was met with a sight so unexpected that it took a moment for my brain to catch up. Mr. Thompson, the kindly neighbor from across the street, stood there with a plate of cookies in his hands. "Evening, dear. I made these fresh, and I thought you might like to have a little treat." "Things have been quiet around here," he said, his voice warm and gentle, clearly oblivious to the fears raging inside Mr. Thompson, "thank you." "That's so," I started, but the words died in my throat as a fresh wave of pain washed over me. "I thought I'd bring some, like old times. Emily loves chocolate chips, right?" At the sound of her favorite flavor, I turned, and there was my daughter peeking from behind the doorframe, a flicker of light igniting her eyes, if only for a moment. "Mr. Thompson. Are those for us?" Despite everything, the small moment of joy clawed its way through the edges of impending doom. "Of course they are. But only if you promise to share," he chuckled, his laughter slightly lifting the heaviness that clung to our hearts. "Thank you." "That's so sweet of you," I said, finding solace in his kindness even as dread stirred in the pit of my stomach. "We're all rooting for you, Kids can be cruel sometimes, and you'll hear lots of noise," he said, a knowing look in his eyes. "But you don't let it take away who you are. You're stronger than you think." As he delivered his words of encouragement, Emily's smile grew a little wider, a glimmer of resilience beginning to emerge amidst the gloom. "Thanks, Mr. Thompson. Well, share, promise." She beamed, the sweetness in her voice breaking through our fog like sunlight chasing shadows. He waved goodbye as he retreated down the pathway, and as I closed the door, I turned back to Emily, our hearts lighter, if just for a moment. "See? Kindness exists, even when it feels like everything else crumbles," I said, hoping to solidify strength in the small gesture, knowing, however, that darkness loomed ever closer. But the temporary reprieve shattered as a sudden ping echoed from Emily's phone once again, slicing the air like a knife. In a flash, her expression shifted to one of horror as she read the message popping up on the screen. "It's from Jennifer," she said, her voice quaking. "She heard about the video. They're coming for me, Mom." My blood ran cold. I could see the encroaching reality, and all the warmth from Mr. Thompson's cookies felt a world away now. There was no escaping it anymore. It was as if we had emerged from one storm only to stand at the precipice of another, one that could tear the fragile haven we had built right back down. As the shadows deepened outside, so did the fear lurking behind Emily's eyes. A fraying thread of hope began to unravel as I felt the weight of the world bearing down on both of us, burdening me with the fierce need to protect my daughter from a truth I couldn't yet comprehend. We were about to uncover what true terror lay at the heart of this ordeal, and with the sinking realization, I knew we were already too late to run from the storm closing in. The tension hung between us like a dark cloud as Emily stared at her phone, frozen in disbelief. My heart raced as I processed the implication of her words. Jennifer was a name we hadn't expected to hear in this context, a reminder of the friendships that had once flourished, now twisted into something toxic. What does it say?" I finally dared to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Emily's hands trembled as she turned the screen toward me. She's saying everyone is talking about me. They saw the video and now they think I'm a monster," she choked out, her innocence eroding beneath the weight of betrayal. "They want me to stay away from school like I'm contagious." The hurt in her eyes was a mirror reflecting my own, igniting a fire within me. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to gather every ounce of ferocity I had and protect her from the cruelty of a world that felt utterly unjust. "This isn't right, Emmy." Her gaze dropped, shoulders slumping as if the very air around her had become too heavy to bear. "But what if they're right? What if I am bad?" "No," I exclaimed, my voice firm as I knelt beside her. "That video doesn't change who you are. You're still my sweet, kind girl. This is not your fault." But as I looked into her tear-filled eyes, I felt helpless against the rising tide of her despair. It was suffocating, and all I could offer was the fragile lifeboat of my unwavering love. "Can we just delete everything? Run away somewhere?" she suggested, the childish hope veiling her despair. The thought of escape tugged at my heart, a siren song promising freedom from judgment and pain. But deep down, I knew we couldn't flee from every shadow. Yet, there was no denying the seed of darkness planted in her heart was beginning to sprout despair. Suddenly, the door creaked open again, and Tom stepped back inside, his face pale and drawn, eyes darting between us as if searching for a way to anchor himself. I heard voices. "What happened?" Emily held out her phone, the weight of it seeming more than just a device. "It's nothing. Just my friends," she murmured, bitterness intertwining with her words. "Emmy, please," Tom said gently, kneeling down to her level. "You don't have to hide this from me. We're a family, and I want to help. I don't want help. I want things to be normal again." She screamed, the outburst echoing in the small room, her frustration surging forth like a wave crashing against the shore. "Normal?" I whispered, feeling an ache blossom deep within my chest. "Honey, maybe normal is out of reach right now, but we can face this together. We will find a way to make sense of it all. I promise." Tom's eyes shone with a mix of concern and resolve. "If it's about the video, we can talk to someone, a counselor, or we can report it, not just sit back and let them hurt you like this." Emily shook her head, her features pinched. "What's the point? They'll just twist it. No one will believe me. Just like everyone thinks I'm bad now." I felt a gaseous knot of despair tightening around my heart, squeezing tighter as tears cascaded down her cheeks. My own determination wavered under the ferocity of her sorrow. "You're not bad, Emily. You are not defined by what they think or say," Tom urged softly, his hand reaching for hers. But as Emily pulled away, a tremor of frustration rippled through him. "This isn't fair. None of it is fair." And then came a knock at the door again, louder this time, each rapping like a judgment delivered on the porch of our home. I exchanged glances with Tom, uncertain and fearful of who might be standing there. "I'll get it," he said, taking a deep breath as he walked to the door. Emily curled in on herself, almost instinctively seeking the safest part of her thoughts. I wanted to reach for her, to remind her of the strength I saw flickering within her heart, but terror has a way of wrapping its icy fingers around hope. Tom swung the door open, revealing a figure I hadn't expected to see. Karen, Emily's best friend, stood there, her expression conflicted, half apprehensive, half determined. "Emmy, please, I just want to talk," but Emily's response came sharp, an edge of pain overtaking her voice. "What do you want? To gloat? To kick me when I'm down? Of course not." "I know," Karen started, her voice tinged with desperation. "I just came to see how you're doing. We thought maybe you needed support. And I am so sorry about the video." For a moment, I held on to the thread of possibility. Maybe this was the kindness, the support we thought might come, a glimmer of hope when every other door felt shut tight. But then I saw the doubt etched in Emily's face and how quickly that hope began to sink. "Support?" She spat, bitterness like poison against her lips. "You mean support for what? For being the laughingstock of our class?" "Emmy, you're not," Karen tried to interject, but the wall Emily had built around her heart felt impenetrable. "It's easier to point fingers than to look at the truth, isn't it?" Emily's voice trembled, each word forming a brick in her fortress of pain. Tom shifted uncomfortably behind me, the atmosphere thick with raw emotions and simmering tensions. "You don't have to go through this alone," he called out to Emily, but the barrier had grown tall and daunting. "No one can help me." "They all turned their backs," she shouted, her voice cracking. I stepped closer, desperation clawing at me, the walls of our home now feeling more like a cage ensnaring us in our grief. "Emmy, look at me. Please. You have the power to decide who you let into your heart. Don't let this darkness consume you. We can fight this together." But the echoes of her friend's abandonment rang loud as she stared daggers at the floor, the smallest ounce of her spirit crumbling with each passing moment. The door remained cracked open, Karen's presence a fragile reminder of what once was. But as I watched Emily retreat further into her pain, the darkness of uncertainty loomed larger than ever, threatening to bury our family beneath its suffocating weight. And beneath the surface of our trembling sanctuary, I could feel the silence chirping with an urgency, a truth waiting to tear through the fabric of our lives. What if this video wasn't just another fight we had to endure? What if it unveiled secrets that could shatter everything we knew? I felt the ground beneath me shake as I came closer to the realization that the truth was far more treacherous than any of us had anticipated. The air in the room thickened as the weight of Emily's hurt loomed like a storm cloud, casting shadows over our already trembling hearts. Karen remained at the door, unsure whether to step in or retreat. Her presence felt both like an intrusion and a glimmer of something that might ease the sharp edges of Emily's sorrow. "Emmy, I swear I just want to help," Karen pleaded, her voice quaking. "Please, let's talk this through." Emily's eyes flared, a mix of rage and pain brewing within her. The girl who once laughed and shared secrets under starlit skies now seemed utterly lost, every fragment of her confidence washed away by a tide of cruelty. "You heaped your pity on me when the video came out. Now you want to pretend everything is fine? You think you can just fix this with support? Emmy, I didn't mean to abandon you. We all just panicked." Karen's words rushed forth like a desperate plea, yet Emily could only see betrayal reflected in them. I wanted to intervene, to halt the encroaching storm that threatened to engulf us all, but I sensed a battle brewing within my daughter, one that needed to be fought on her terms. "Panic? Is that what you're calling it?" Emily scoffed, her voice laced with bitterness. "You were my best friend. You're just like the rest of them, thinking I'm unworthy of being helped now that I'm tainted." The raw hurt shot through me like arrows, each word a wound that cut deeper into my own heart. "Emmy," I finally whispered, stepping gently toward her. "None of this diminishes your worth. You are still what?" she retorted, her brows furrowing. Still my father? Still someone who can't change what they think about me? Tom inhaled sharply, glancing between the two girls, his heart heavy with the weight of parental love and protection. Then, suddenly, his phone buzzed loudly, an unwelcome interruption that sliced through the tension like a knife. He glanced down and his face paled, an unsettling realization flaring in his eyes. It's Jennifer," he said quietly, as if saying the name invoked a spell. "She wants to talk." The name struck me like lightning. It was the very embodiment of the storm gathering above us. I felt Emily stiffen next to me, her body tensing like a coiled spring ready to snap. "I don't want to talk to her," she whispered as if an avalanche was rolling toward her. Tom hesitated, searching for the right words. Maybe this is the moment we can confront it. We can't keep running from Jennifer or the video. Let's bring everything into the light." Emily shook her head vehemently, her eyes darting toward the door. "No. This isn't the solution. I don't need to hear her lies or manipulation. I don't even know how she got that video in the first place. What's the point of facing her?" I felt an overwhelming surge of despair, but suddenly the room was alive with possibility. "Maybe we can get to the truth behind the video, Emmy. If there's something deeper going on, we can uncover it together." Karen stepped a little closer, her voice softer now. "I'll be right here with you. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. No one can tear us down if we stick together." Emily glanced up at her, the tiniest flicker of hope shining through the layers of fear, but it quickly vanished as she clenched her fists. "You don't understand, Karen. This is more than I even can handle, more than anyone." My heart thudded loudly in my chest, the churning revelation swirling within me. I thought of the number of friends Emily had lost in this tangled web of betrayal and cruelty. It made no sense, they had been so close. "What if this isn't just about the video, Emmy?" I murmured, my voice trembling with a mix of trepidation and determination. "What if the truth could offer you a chance to reclaim your voice?" "What do you mean?" She turned to me, piercing my heart with her gaze, searching for answers that felt just out of reach. "Maybe it will take confronting Jennifer to clear your name. To find out what's really happening." I swallowed hard, knowing how fragile her trust had become, but the stakes felt too high to ignore. "We could stand together against them. She can't hurt you." "If you're not alone." "Those are just words," Emily replied, her voice cracking. "What if running into her only makes it worse? I can promise you this. It might feel too heavy to lift on your own, but I don't want you to carry it alone." "Well, figure it out together." "I don't know," she muttered, her resolve faltering. Suddenly, my phone vibrated in my pocket, the sound sharp and intrusive, adding a layer of tension to the moment. I pulled it out and frowned at the screen. It was a message from an unknown number, but somehow it sent a cold shiver down my spine. "Be careful about what you wish for," it read. "The truth is more dangerous than you think." The room plunged into stunned silence, the implications hanging heavy in the air. I felt my heart race, the foundations of our struggle trembling. As I stared at Emily, that flicker of fear mixed with the light of hope in her eyes, I understood that whatever lay ahead, every painful confrontation, every whispered rumor, every layer of buried truth would alter us forever. With the looming presence of that message, I realized we were no longer just battling a video or a name. We were standing on the brink of a revelation that could shatter the fragile threads of our lives altogether. The tension in the room felt charged, alive with unsaid words and unacknowledged fears. My heart raced as I processed the message on my phone, each letter a heavy stone dropping into the already tumultuous waters of our lives. I couldn't ignore the growing shadows that entwined around Emily's heart, the shadows born from chaos and betrayal, but I also couldn't deny the deep bond between us, which persisted even in the coldest moments. "Emily," I said, tentatively breaking the suffocating silence, "what if we approach this together? One step at a time? One conversation with Jennifer won't destroy you. It can't. Not if you let us stand with you." Emily's eyes shimmered with 1,000 thoughts, but the weight of indecision held her frozen. Her fingers were intertwined, twisting and clutching one another as if they could bridge the impossible chasm of her feelings. "Dad, it's not just about the video. You don't know what she's like. She feeds off fear," Emily confessed, her voice trembling. "When I think of facing her, I see all the ways she can twist my words, turn everyone against me again, just like she did before. Then let's break the cycle together," I implored, the urgency in my voice increasing. "You don't have to be afraid of the darkness. Not when you have others who love you beside you." Karen moved closer, reaching out as if to touch Emily's arm, a gesture both simple and yet so monumental in that moment. "Look, Emmy, I've made my mistakes, but I promise I'm here for you, no matter what happens. We're in this together, okay? You're not alone." Emily inhaled sharply, the warmth of their shared experience momentarily illuminating her weary gaze. I saw the spark of connection, but it was like a candle flickering against a howling wind. Then, with an effort that seemed to drain her, Emily slumped on the edge of the bed. "I just want to be free of this. Of her. Of everyone's eyes on me," she whispered, anguish lacing her words. "Every time I step outside, I feel their judgment. I'm tired of being a pariah." I felt as if someone had plunged a cold knife into my gut. The pain of her confession twisted within me, leaving an ache I wasn't sure could ever heal. I moved to crouch next to her, laying a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Your worth is not defined by their judgment. You are more than their perception of you, Emmy. You are strong and brave, and I believe in you." "It's easy to say that, but I don't believe it." "Not anymore," she replied, her voice breaking. Then a thought struck me: what if we turned that judgment on its head? I proposed, emboldened by the flicker of hope ignited in our conversation. What if, instead of hiding from Jennifer and her lies, we faced them head-on? What if we shared your story, not just the part they twisted, but the truth of who you are? "And then what?" Emily asked, her resistance wavering. "What if the truth exposes me further? What if it shows them just how broken I really am?" But then, from outside the room, I heard a voice, a familiar chorus of laughter and commotion. My heart sank, the sounds of a celebration just beyond our four walls. I dashed to the window, and there, under the glare of daylight, was a group of her classmates, balloons and a cake held high, laughter ringing out in the air. "They're celebrating without you," I murmured quietly, the betrayal of the scene echoing painfully in my chest. "On your birthday, how could they?" Emily whispered, barely able to mask her shock as tears pooled in her eyes. "After everything that's happened," and there it was, the unexpected edge of kindness from those who had once stood in her corner, a cruel reminder of closeness that felt like a distant memory now. The laughter rang hollow, a stark reminder that her friends could so easily swing from allies to judges. Just as the heaviness settled in, the phone in my pocket vibrated again, its aggressive tone pulling my attention. I hastily pulled it out again, scanning the screen. My breath caught as a second message illuminated the darkness that had begun to wrap itself around us. "Jennifer isn't the only threat. Watch your back. The truth could come from someone you least expect." The color drained from my face as I turned to Emily, realization dawning. Who else was involved? Who had the power to hurt her further? My heart raced as I saw the shadows flicker behind her eyes. "Emmy," I said softly, the air tense with unsaid fears and possibilities. "We need to dig deeper." "Why?" Emily asked, bewildered. "Why can't we just push it all away? Because there's something more insidious at play, something that will only continue to eat away at you. We have to gather our strength, find the truth now while we can. We must prepare ourselves for whatever lies ahead," I urged, the sense of urgency in my voice rising with each word. Her lips trembled, fear mixing with resolution. "What if we never find it, Dad? What if it only leads to more pain? You can't protect me forever." But the flicker in her eyes lingered somewhere high above the clouds of uncertainty. A little courage remained. "I don't want this for you, but we're stronger together. Through pain, we can find clarity and reclaim what's yours, whatever it takes." As the laughter outside faded with the setting sun, we were left with a haunting stillness in the room. Emily's heart hung heavy with the weight of her conflicts, and I wondered if we could truly unravel the web of deception and reveal the truth before everything unraveled. But the fear gnawed at me. We risked so much in seeking this truth, the question loomed, cracking open the air between us. What further danger remained as we stepped deeper into this murky terrain of hurt? And who was waiting to rip the ground from beneath us when we least expected it? As we faced the uncertainties ahead, I couldn't shake the chilling feeling that, in seeking the truth, we might unearth a depth of darkness we were ill-prepared for. The days rolled by, each one an echo of the last. The laughter from that birthday party faded into a distant memory, replaced by murmurs of judgment and whispered accusations filling the hallways at school where Emily had once confidently roamed. I watched her retreat further into herself, the vibrant spirit that once lit up our home now flickering low, almost extinguished. Every call from school, every message that pinged her phone, drew tight the chains of despair that bound her. Into this suffocating silence stepped Karen, holding a soft orange envelope, her expression brave yet uncertain. "I have a letter for you. It's from the others," she said hesitantly, placing it on the table between us. "They want to tell you that they're sorry. They didn't mean to exclude you." Emily lifted her eyes, momentarily flickering with hope but quickly clouding with doubt. "They're just trying to salvage their reputations. They want me to forgive them so they can feel better." The bitterness laced through her words cut deeper than I wanted to acknowledge. "Maybe they really do care," I attempted, knowing the battle within her was raging fiercely. "Why don't you read it? Then you can decide how to respond." But Emily simply shook her head, frustrated tears brimming at the corners of her eyes. "I can't. I don't want to go back to pretending everything is fine. I don't want anything from them. I wanted things to be different." Her voice trembled with raw honesty, each word exposing the gaping wound in her heart. The pang of her pain settled over us like a heavy blanket, suffocating in its weight. "Maybe this is the turning point, Emily," I offered gently, unsure if my words were enough. "You need to decide who and what can be a part of your life moving forward. You can rebuild or choose to let go of the hurt." The thought hung there, desperate and weighty, as our home thrummed with grief. But then, unexpectedly, the tension in the air shifted, drawn taut by a timid knock on the door. I exchanged glances with Emily and Karen before moving toward the entrance. There stood Mia, one of Emily's classmates. My heart plummeted. She'd been among those who had laughed, and my instinct was to protect Emily from more hurt. "Mia," I started, but she rushed forward, earnest and urgent. I came to talk to Emmy," she stammered, her cheeks flushed with regret. "Please, just let me explain." I know it's been horrible. I stepped aside, allowing her entrance, but I stayed close to Emily, sensing the protective barrier was still needed. The atmosphere in the room shifted, thickening with suspense. "Emmy, there's something you need to see," Mia began, her voice low. I didn't realize what was happening until after the fact. I thought it was just another joke until they shared the video. Emily's expression hardened, a wall forming at the mention of the video. "It's not funny anymore, Mia. You think I care about your excuses? No, listen." Mia pleaded, urgency flooding her voice. "You have to understand. They saw the video first, not me. I didn't think it was real. They hurt you, and I just followed the crowd. But it's not just about the video. It never was. They wanted to make you the scapegoat because they were scared it could be them next." "What do you mean?" Emily's shoulders lowered slightly, an inkling of curiosity fighting against fear. "Jennifer has been stirring up trouble. It wasn't just a joke, she wanted to take everyone down with her, using the video to hold power over us. The truth is it's been twisted. It's not even you they should be angry with. It's her." The room fell silent, the weight of Mia's revelations rippling through the air. I could see Emily's internal struggle on her face. Could she trust this newfound honesty, this risk of exposing deeper betrayal? "Is that why I was cut off? Because of her?" Emily whispered, a flicker of realization igniting in her eyes. The thought raced through the air, instantaneous and explosive. "Yes. They're afraid of her. She knows how to manipulate everyone, and now she's holding that video over all of us. We're scared, but I'm here because I don't want to be scared anymore. Not if it means losing you as a friend. With each word, the chains around Emily began to rust. I could see the barriers of hurt loosening. There was something powerful in shared fear. You're saying Jennifer used us? She made you all think I was the problem all along? Her voice wavered, confusion knitting her brows. Yes. You have to show everyone the real you, the one they don't know. They can't hurt you if you stand together, Mia pleaded. You have to have the courage to fight back. I want to fight with you. A moment passed. Me daughter's once muted resolve began to find a spark, the flame illuminating possibilities she hadn't yet dared to dream. You mean it? She whispered, vulnerability spilling through her words like a fragile thread unspooled. Mia nodded, determination flooding her expression. Yes. But first, we need to clear your name and confront this head-on. That flicker in Emily's eyes ignited a fire so bright that hope surged, sweeping through like the dawn dispelling the long night. Together? Emily asked, her voice trembling with the weight of unspoken fears and newfound courage. Together, yes, Mia confirmed, extending her hand toward Emily. You deserve to be heard. Let's unravel this. I watched, heart full of warmth and dread all at once, as Emily grasped Mia's hand. The exchange of strength and unity was nothing short of a miracle, a testament to resilience amidst the storm. Together, they were taking the first step into the light. Their voices would rise above the shadows, fighting back against the darkness that threatened to consume them. As the door swung open wider, the horizon seemed to shift. And although I didn't know what awaited us, I felt a soft and hopeful certainty. We were going to reclaim our truth, our stories, and regardless of the dangers that lay ahead, we would face it together. And as I watched Emily step into that light, feeling courage take root in her heart, I knew one thing for certain: this tale would no longer be hers alone but ours, woven together with the threads of forgiveness, acceptance, and a fierce love that had weathered the darkest storms. Let's rewrite our story then, she whispered to me before turning to face the world again. Together, and with that, like the first ray of dawn breaking free from the horizon, I felt the embers of hope ignite within me. The journey was fraught with uncertainty, yet I knew I would stand beside her, through every confrontation and revelation, until we pieced together the fragments of our lives anew. We were ready to embrace whatever twists lay ahead, to carve our path through the shadows until the light reclaimed us.